It's that time of the year, open enrollment. That's when you can sign up or change your health care plan. Healthcare is what ultimately caused the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. Democrats want to extend Obamacare subsidies, which expired December 31st. Meanwhile, President Trump is vowing to replace the Affordable Care Act with something better and cheaper. Next year, health insurance premiums for millions who use Obamacare could double if Congress does not find a solution. The Administrator for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, Dr. Mehmet Oz, joins me. Nice to see you, sir. And first, great work on getting the obesity drugs down to affordable, because I think that's a big game changer for a lot of things. But I've also heard you quoted as saying that innovation and competition will help us disrupt the illness industrial complex, which to me means you got some ideas for changing a lot of things, because the status quo really isn't working.
It's not working at all. In fact, you look at healthcare costs in general, they're increasing 8 to 9% this year. That's a lot more than inflation. Not as the GDP can't keep up with that. Greta, we're going to become a large healthcare system with a small country attached. So let's get ahead of this. The GLP-1 drugs that we put out through a desire of the president to get all these prices to come down to so they're equal for Americans and those living in other countries is working beautifully. We've done the largest U.S. company, a large European company, all the fertility drugs. So we're making progress. This whole concept that Americans would be stuck spending 3 times more for the same drugs made in the same places and put in the same bottles as folks in Europe makes no sense. The president is appropriately angry about this, and we have taken steps. These GLP-1 drugs, which will help Americans lose weight, will also reduce all the morbidity from obesity, including high blood pressure and diabetes and kidney failure, liver issues, a whole slew of things, Greta. But the fundamental reality is within 2 years, they will pay for themselves. Within 2 years, taxpayers will actually pay less money for the healthcare system because of these drugs. Which brings me to the big topic I know you're about to ask about, which is the Affordable Care Act. And we do have big ideas there, but it's a mix. You have to reduce the actual cost of care while you come up with better ways of paying for the care that you're offering. And just as evidence that their system is in trouble, when the original ACA was created, there were problems with it, which, for good or for bad, they were sort of muddling through until COVID. And when COVID hit, the Democrats addressed those problems by throwing money at the issue, which they only were willing to do until now, because they knew what they were doing didn't make sense. Because of these ill-designed moves, it has led to immense fraud in the system. We believe there are over 4 million people, alleged people, getting benefits on the Obamacare system who do not exist or weren't supposed to get the benefits. That's a lot of money, full fare. We're paying for insurance for 4 million people who don't even know they have insurance.
Well, it seems to me, though, that we really need to shake up the system completely. It's not just trying to figure out how to make it cheaper, but the model is just not working. And what I like are, and I think, is rather than wait till someone has a horrible case of cancer and spend all the money on chemotherapy and radiation, is what I like are a lot of these tests that they're beginning to be developed online, so you can see if you maybe yourself these self-tests for colon cancer, for prostate cancer, the Galleria test for blood to determine 50 cancers. But as we get more and more of those tests with FDA approval and with more certainty, that let's attack the disease before it becomes horribly expensive and fatal.
A stitch in time saves 9. It has always done that. It will continue to do that. As a surgeon, I love using that phraseology because we take precautions when we do surgeries to make sure we have great outcomes. We do not do that with our health policies quite as readily. And much of what we have identified is a malalignment where the person doing the procedure is actually not aligned exactly with what the patient needs and the payer, the person actually paying the bill. I spoke this morning to the American Medical Association, and I pushed the doctors in the room to get their mojo back. And what happened to professionalism where, yes, you take care of your patients, number one, but you also have a civic responsibility to speak up about issues that matter. We have got to realign the system. We don't even have the governors and the president of the country aligned. And that's why we have these battles about Medicaid payments. So I think we can fix these issues, but we've got to be brave about it. And as you know, just last week, we began taking active steps to do just that, to make sure people are not paid to do things that don't create value for the American people.
I also think that lots of times politicians create these different systems, but they haven't spoken to the doctors and the nurses and the people who every day have to deal with it, who have really good ideas.
They don't. And the doctors and nurses actually are in the trenches. They know what to do. My plea today, and again, nurses are the ultimate healers. They're the ones out there. They're the glue that holds the system together, is speak up about things you know to be important in the system. Do not tolerate being just a cog in the wheel of the medical industrial complex. The people you're watching in these screens right now are actually saving lives. The folks who are the middlemen, the insurance companies, the pharmaceutical the drug creators, which again, the scientists are one thing. They're on the front lines creating solutions, but there are lots of business people in the middle. We need them to recognize that we want value for the investment we're making in healthcare. We spend twice as much as any other country on the planet. We have got to be able to get value that's equivalent to that, and it's not. Our life expectancy is dropping, partly for the reasons you articulate. We're not getting time, the testing and recovery.
And I'm here every day, 5 days a week. So when you have some ideas, you might come back, because I love this topic, because I think it's so important. Dr. Oz, thank you for joining me, sir.
Bless you.
People think news just happens. It doesn't. It happens because there's someone there to capture the moment, to explain it and share it. That's my job. I go where news breaks and give you the facts. Join me for The Record on Newsmax.